Boom, 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 boom. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody, to the God knows what episode of the Kpush podcast. 36, 37, 35. I'm guessing. Who knows? Anyway, welcome to the fucking Kpush podcast. Today is a little fucking different, and from here on out, a little fucking different. And let me tell you fucking why. I said fucking a little too much there. 17-year-old got out of me a little bit. I'm done with school. I'm done. I passed junior year. Passed, not the best of grades, but I fucking passed. And it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. There's so much that I'm trying to decomprehend, but the second to last year of high school is done, and everyone says senior year is pretty much a cakewalk compared to the last 2 years of high school, sophomore and junior year. I'm excited. And it's only 10 more months of school, and then I'm done. And I think sophomore year, this podcast I'll be able to focus on a little bit more than I was junior year. The entire junior year, I was working 50 hours a week, and that's with school and Shaw's combined. At least 50 hours. Usually it was 55, sometimes 60, but it was minimum 50 hours, and it was just so crazy, and it was so much work. Excuse me. There was so much work and so much time put in, and it was just crazy. And so I'm so excited, and I'm about to turn 18. 5 months. It's so exciting. It really is so exciting, and I'm about to be able to go on stage legally, and I haven't gone on stage yet because I'm not 18 and because my parents would not let me into Boston by myself because they're fucking helicopter parents. But once I turn 18, they'll fucking let me into the city of Boston, and I'll be able to do open mics with hopefully Dom and Charlie, which they're still planning on being stand-ups. They haven't uploaded any podcasts recently. We'll get into that later. But if we do, I don't know. But I'm done with junior year, and there's still technically 2 more days left of junior year, but I'm going on Florida, and I wanted to get one more solo episode, and I haven't uploaded anything on the podcast recently. I recorded 2 episodes. The last podcast I uploaded, I think, was with Jaden Grant. And then I recorded 2 episodes, maybe 3. I'm losing track. I don't know. I'm going so fast. I literally can't keep track of time. But I'm still trying to work out and keep up with my mental health and also try and diet, which I fell back on these last few weeks of school, which the last few weeks of school have been so exhausting, and I'll get into that, but literally there's just weight lifted off me now that I know I'm done with school. But I'm going to Florida, so I'm not going to the last 2 days of school, which, oh well, last 2 days of school, go fuck themselves. But there's a lot I want to talk about. I want to talk about. I really want to get into 2 things for the start of the podcast. Is number 1, how I felt. The last couple weeks of school, I have not uploaded on this podcast. I completely fell back on my workout, and I've gained weight. Lost track of diet, ate like shit, treated myself like shit, haven't uploaded, haven't recorded to the amount I wanted to. I recorded, 2 episodes, which I will upload, but I just want to wait really until school's out. So now these podcasts will be coming out. But I mean, I just felt so fucking depressed. I mean, I can't describe it in any other way. I felt like shit. I was tired all the time. I really felt like I wasn't getting enough sleep, even though I was getting the same amount I was getting all year long. But I felt like I wasn't getting enough. I felt overtired, overworked. I didn't work out. I ate like shit. I had no motivation. And fuck, I felt like I was, like just getting punched like through a time period. Just like through your I don't even know how to describe it, but just through your life, just getting through, like you're just getting punched in the face, like, and you just kept fucking going. Like you just had to take the punches. And I passed. Hey, what the fuck? I passed. So what the fuck do you want from me? I fucking passed. I got through, and it's over now. But also I've never really talked about this a lot, but I always feel like a piece of shit for being depressed. I always feel like, and this isn't, my depression, it's not an Instagram, what are the symptoms of depression? You take a 5-minute quiz and then you self-diagnose yourself with depression. That's not what I have. I've worked with 7 therapists, I think in total, maybe 8. But I've worked with 7 therapists in total, at least. I've gone to mental hospital partial programs where you go in through the day. I think that was like 2 weeks. I've, National Suicide Hotline. I've been there. And I always feel like a piece of shit for that, because if you know me, I have just the white suburban life. Is basically what it is. And I have a swimming pool. I have a fucking basketball court. I'm the most privileged fuck alive. But fucking damn it, when I get depressed, I get fucking depressed, and I've dealt with depression, and I've been medicated for it, and I still feel like a piece of shit for having it. And when you listen to interviews of like the Joe Rogan podcast, and there was an interview of a guy, his name was, here I have it here, it was Kamaru Usman, was a UFC mixed martial artist. He's fucking fantastic. I think he's middleweight class, and he's one of the best maybe of all time. And he's from Nigeria, and you hear him tell his story, and he just has one of the worst stories that you could ever have in your entire fucking life. He tried to escape his home country, where at the age of 15, and I'm botching, I think that's the word, botching the story completely. He tells it so much better, and especially on the Joe Rogan podcast, because I'm fucking 17. He tells the story of when he was fucking 15. He was, as a job, he would have sand pits, and he would work like 10-hour days, and he would get paid shit money, and he would do that right after school. And then he tried to escape his home country, and then got caught twice, and then was sentenced and left to the Safari Desert left to die there. And he escaped not once but twice, and his journey to America took 14 months, and he had to go from his home country, Nigeria, to, I think it was Nigeria, to United Kingdom, to eventually to the United States. And of that 14 months, he spent 2 of them in jail, and he was sentenced and left to die in the Safari Desert twice, and he still made it over here, and he became one of the best of all times. And you just hear his story, and you're like, is this whole mental illness, like, how is that real? How do I have depression? Like, is that fucking real? Is that possible? That can't possibly be real, right? Like, have I somehow created this fake mental illness and convinced 7 therapists to the point where I'm medicated and just created this problem for myself because I have no real problems? Like my problems with high school and feeling depressed and overworked because I do a 50-hour week, you sometimes 60, but compared to this guy, it's fucking nothing. Like, is that real? Can that be real? Is that possible? And I've been diagnosed with dyslexia and fucking ADHD, and I've been medicated for ADHD too, but how is that real? How is that real when you hear this guy's story who escaped from Nigeria and was sentenced and left to die in the safari desert not once but twice, and here I am talking about fucking high school. But like, you know, what the fuck else am I going to talk about? This is my fucking life. You know, like, I don't have his life, and I didn't choose this life, but do I even have a right to talk then? Like, why do I have a podcast? Why doesn't this man have a podcast? He might have started one, and I just didn't realize. Should have done more research, but, you know, that's how I roll. Anyway, moving on, because I could ramble about that for about 12 minutes. I want to get back to just high school in general and my bullshit, because even though that's not real and that I make it up, I still want to get back to it. And that, no, pretty much any kids in America don't have any problems compared to some of the actual problems in the world and some of these actual stories that you hear. But I'm going to talk about it. Again, talking in a room alone with no one else. You should lock me up in a mental asylum. It's a problem. But I think that the summer's super important to high school kids, and it's provides a perspective of what life is going to be, and also how much it's changed now. Like, how much high school has changed, or high school summer break, and just summer break in general, for anyone who had lived through the COVID pandemic now, how much that has changed, because you essentially got a 5-month period long break of no school, and then now you get 2 months break. The perspective of a break now is so different, so much different than what it was before the COVID pandemic. And it's so crazy how when you were a kid and when you were just younger, you thought summer break was so long. You thought it was like a period of time, which really it's a little over 2 months, which isn't fucking shit. It's not shit compared to 10 months. It's 1/5. It's 1/5. It's not fucking shit. And it goes by so quick, and you have to value every time you have summer break, to the point where here it is at 1:12 in the morning. I'm recording a podcast and leaving for Florida in the morning because I gotta value this time of summer break. But when you were younger, you felt like you had all the time in the world. Where did it go? Where did it go? And 2 months doesn't seem like fucking shit now. I mean, it just doesn't. But it makes you value the time. But then again, I'm going to be a senior next year. I got 10 months, and then I'm done. I'm done with this. And again, I think summer provides a perspective of what is important in your life, and I think this it's going to show that for me, this podcast is so important to me, and how I want it to become a legitimate, real part of my life after high school. That, like, all this, even this podcast right now, it's horseshit. I'm not being 100% myself. It's the most self I am. I'm gonna be honest. It's the most self I can be while trying to graduate high school. If I talked legitimately how I wanted to talk and talked about the things I wanted to talk about full 100%, like I didn't give a fuck at all, which I don't. I only give a fuck about graduating high school, and the only reason I want to graduate high school is for my parents. I don't give a fuck about high school myself. Me graduating high school is the ultimate gift to my parents, and the only way I feel like I can repay my parents is by giving them this gift of me graduating high school. That's the only... I've had such a privileged and easy childhood that I don't think I really appreciated, and I appreciate it more and more as I go on. And I also am realizing that I don't necessarily like my parents as people, and I don't. And it's a weird. I feel so weird about it, but I'm young, and apparently I think I'm supposed to feel so weird, and I think I'm right where I'm supposed to be, of just trying to figure shit out. But I know for me that graduating high school is basically just the ultimate gift to my parents. And it's also the only way that I'm done. Like, I don't think I will owe my parents anything else after. It's almost selfish. It's selfish of me. I'm going to be honest with you. It's selfish of me in a way, because after that, all my debts to my parents, I think, are done. Like, I don't give a fuck about my parents. I'm completely myself. I don't give a fuck if I ruin their reputation, if I ruin the family's reputation after this. I don't care. I want to be a comic. I want to say crazy, wild shit. I haven't been saying crazy, wild shit for 18 years. I haven't been myself fully, and I'm going to be my fucking self once I graduate high school. Once I graduate high school, this podcast, I'm going to make it what I want it to be, and every year it's going to slowly, I'm going to push the lines and see how I can fully be myself, and also figure out a way to graduate high school. And this summer, I really want to focus on it, and again, it provides perspective of what you think will be important after high school. I think a lot more kids need perspective like this, but I want to focus a lot on this podcast. I want to get soundboards. I want to move these dumb family pictures. I want to set up more posters. I'm excited. I really am excited. I'm pumped. I'm ready to fucking graduate senior year. Everyone says senior year is a cakewalk compared to the other years. So, I mean, I'm just super, super fucking excited. I mean, I just am. And I'm excited to see what this podcast will be. And I'm going to turn 18 soon, which is crazy. I'm going to be a legal adult in less than 6 months. I'm going to be able to go on stage legally. I'm going to be able to perform at comedy clubs. My parents are going to let me go into the city of Boston alone. It's crazy. And 5 years ago, I never would imagine this much freedom. But it's so... this is where I have a problem with when people are like, dude, high school is the best years of your life. Doesn't get better than high school. Like, fuck you. Fuck you. Like, you're a loser. like it's not that the high school years are the best years of your life. It's that you were and are a loser. You're a fucking if you look at me in the face, okay, and if I ever think differently, I'll kill myself. I'll hang myself from a fucking roof. I'm promising you this. If I ever go back on this claim that if I go back on the claim that high school won't be the best years of your life, and that if you say that, you're a fucking loser. If I go back on that claim, I'll hang myself. I will. I promise you. If I'm 30 if I hit 30 and I'm like, damn, yeah, high school was definitely the best years of my life, I will hang myself immediately. Right there. It's over for me. I don't give a fuck. Like, it's done. How on earth is the high school? I can't do anything I want to do as I get older and older and progressively graduate and get out of high school. I feel better as a human being. How the fuck are high school the best years of your life? You barely get any pussy. The pussy is amazing. This is true. The fresh pussy in high school, and I can only say this for about 5 more months before I turn 18. The fresh pussy in high school is great. It's fresh. It's brand new. It's brand new packaging. But they barely fuck you. You get inconsistent pussy in high school. You can buy pussy with at least in New York City. You can buy pussy in New York City now. But, there's Tinder, there's OnlyFans. There's other shit in your 20s. Like, you can get consistent. Like, are you just not getting consistent pussy? What's going on with your girlfriend, bro? Like, is she not doing it? How is high school the best years of your life? What is going wrong in your life in your 20s and 30s that makes high school the best years of your life? Like, it sucks. It sucks, man. You can't do anything you want to do. People are like, you're tied down, man, once you're adult. Once you're adult, you're tied down, your bills, and, you gotta do shit, man. I mean, like, fuck off. Fuck off, prick. I do 50 hours a week, and I get paid for less than half of those hours. Like, go fuck off. You get paid fully for your hours. Yeah, pay your fucking bills. Like, fucking pay your bills. I don't... And maybe that's naive because I don't have rent yet. I mean, I have a gas bill. I have other bills that I'll talk about later once I graduate high school. But why? What is it about bills? Like, I don't get paid for half of my work. If I got paid for half of my work, I think I could afford rent at a shitty apartment. Like, come on. Invest. Save up. I don't understand. And if it doesn't get better than this, fuck this, man. Fuck this. Doesn't get better than this, fuck this. Even though that, the guy escaped from the Safari Desert twice, and this life is not nearly as bad as his, but I don't know. That's my other thing. Look, you hear these stories about Holocaust survivors, and this person who was left in the Safari Desert twice, left to die, and like actual hard lives. Why didn't they kill themselves? Why didn't they kill themselves? Same thing with like the concentration camps in Russia and the Soviet Union. Those survivors. Why did they survive? Why didn't you kill yourself? What, like, how far is your determination to live? And why is it so much better than mine? Like, if you were like, look, man, you're gonna be put in a concentration camp. Or you came to me and you said, hey, man, you're gonna be left in the Sahara Desert twice to die, and you're gonna have to escape. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna kill myself, or I'm gonna let myself die. I don't give a like, why would you want to live? Like, zombie apocalypse too. Like, all these people are like, oh, you want to survive in the zombie apocalypse? Kill yourself. Kill yourself. Zombie apocalypse happens. Nuclear war happens. People that went to the Vietnam War, why? Kill yourself. Kill yourself. What? Go to the, like, people that were drafted during the Vietnam War, kill yourself. Not actually. No. People that were drafted don't like kill yourself. But why didn't you kill yourself? Because I would have. That came out wrong. That I was just trying to hit a fast punchline, and that came out wrong. If they take that out of context, my life is over. Again, with a podcast, people don't understand that you're not really thinking. Like, it's kind of almost like meditation, a podcast, where you're not, you're just allowing yourself to think out loud. You're not really saying much. What? You're not really saying much. That was just bullshit. You're not thinking through things. You're not actually having factual topic opinions. You're not comprehending what you're fully saying. You're not thinking through, and you're not necessarily thinking of all the consequences you're saying. And sometimes you're just trying to make something sound good. You're making the flow of your voice sound good during a podcast because you want people to be entertained and you want people to continue listening to your podcast. And when you have a flow of certain talking, people can listen to you better. People can get more engaged with you more. And sometimes you just say the wrong fucking things, like when you're drafted, kill yourself. And that's not what I meant to say. I left two words out, which, why didn't you kill yourself? But legitimately, like any of those things, like when you're drafted to the Vietnam War, when you're sentenced to a concentration camp, when you're left to the Sahara Desert for 2 years, twice, why wouldn't you just end it? Like, why? The suicide rate is so high, and I was looking, which is really interesting. I looked at the suicide numbers the other day for 2020, and the suicide rate went down 5%. So I think it went from like 20. I don't know. It was like, how many people? You know what? No, I'm not looking it up. I'm just gonna guess. It was like 25,000. No, it wasn't. It was like 35,000 people killed themselves in 2019, I'm guessing. And then in 2020, it was like 30,000. So it was like 5,000 people killed themselves less. But I was like, this is weird. This is not right. But I then looked up the overdose count, and I shouldn't laugh, but 20,000 more people overdosed in 2020 than they did in 2019. That is scary. That is... Like, the suicide rate dropped 5% from 2019 to 2020. But the overdose rate just skyrocketed. And at the beginning of the pandemic, it was so bad. There were so many people overdosing. And then it dropped off a little bit, but it hasn't gone down to where it was in 2019. The overdose rate has not fully gone down. It's just continued. And if you here's where I get weird with overdose, and this is a really controversial opinion, and people get really weirded out when I bring this up, but I'm going to bring it up. Overdose is a way of suicide. And some people kill themselves by overdosing, and you don't know they meant to kill themselves. That is a very, very uncomfortable thought for a lot of people. And I wouldn't say that to somebody or to anybody who has recently died by overdose or has a family member or someone close to them who died by overdose, because that's rude. So if you are listening to this and you had someone close to you overdose recently, I'm sorry. But it's true. And it's unfortunately the really, really sad truth is that some people kill themselves by overdose. And so what percentage of the people that overdose, because it was 70,000 people were dying from overdoses in 2019, so like 90,000 people died from overdose in 2020. What percentage of those people meant to kill themselves? And I think that there's also a demographic of overdoses where they don't necessarily care. They don't mean to kill themselves, but they take so much drugs knowing that it might kill them, knowing that they don't really give a fuck if they live or die. And so what do you count those people as suicide? Because they did do the action to kill themselves and they just didn't necessarily they did the action to kill themselves, but they didn't necessarily do it to kill themselves, but they didn't care if they lived either. So that's a weird, very weird gray area that I've talked to people who've overdosed who have this kind of feeling. And it's, you know, it's kind of like the people who tie the noose around their neck when they jerk off. It's like, you know, if they die like that while they're jerking off, what? There's people that tie a noose around their neck when they jerk off and kill themselves. It's not funny. It's not funny. People die. It's not funny. It's not funny. What those people, the guys that kill themselves by jerking off with the noose around their neck are sort of like the people that, you know, don't really care about the amount of drugs they're taking to live or die. It's a weird gray area of suicide. But then there's also a good amount of overdoses where we really don't know, or the people don't know what they were taking, and so they don't know what they were taking because it's illegal in the United States, which is another uncomfortable thought, which is if you had these drugs legalized and people knew what they were taking, would there be less it's not a question if there would be less accidental overdose if these drugs were legalized and they weren't laced all the time. So then you have lacings, which lacings are getting to, you know, are really laces make me so angry. Like when I hear somebody took something that was laced, I get furious. I get so angry and so mad, and you're not really allowed to say anything. But it's the it's the fucking government. And because it's decriminalized, or because it's criminalized, and because it's not decriminalized, and because you can't get these drugs lab tested, and because they're not recreational, and because people don't know what they're taking, people are taking way too fucking much and overdosing, and then or sometimes they get laced, and then they take something like fentanyl and they fucking die on the spot. And that is the true tragedy of overdoses. And so you get these weird perspectives of overdoses, which is like 1/3 might have meant to kill themselves and might have used overdose to kill themselves. You get 1/3 that necessarily doesn't really care if they live or die. They're just taking an obsessive amount of drugs, knowing if they don't really care if they live or die, which is a weird gray area. And then you get actual 1/3 tragedies, which is people get laced, people take too much accidentally, something gets slipped into somebody's drink, having allergic reaction, like all these different things that are just genuine tragedies. And you hear 20 more thousand people died of overdose. And that's a pure overdose. And then you just hear the COVID numbers. And if you combine the overdose and suicide numbers, it's over 1/3 of the COVID deaths in 2020. And it's, you can be like, well, you can't really combine those two, but I think there's some way you can. And even if it's not 1/3, then it's just taking 90,000 is still close to 1/3. If you combine the suicide numbers, then it's over 1/3, which I think you can combine the two in some degree, because I think a good amount of people who die of overdose purposely overdosed. And so what do you do with that? We didn't do anything for these people in 2020. In fact, we made it worse. We made it worse with the lockdowns. We made it worse with the less interaction with people. We made people stay inside. People self-isolated. And to some degree, we are in cause, and these politicians are in cause of this amount of people that died from overdose. But then you get to the COVID numbers, and if you really want to get weird with it, 6% of people purely died of COVID. 100% of the 90,000 people completely died of overdose. That's fact. And let me get hold on. Let me get this straight. Were there 90,000 overdoses, or were there 90,000 deaths of overdose? How many people died of overdose? How many people? 2020. CDC, Energy Center. Nearly, okay. 20,000. Yada, yada, yada. What are you fucking giving me? See the data. Why is it not giving me an exact number? Oh, for fuck's sake. I can't handle the fucking internet. Overdose deaths accelerating during COVID-19. So there's over 81. So according to the CDC, wait, so let me pull this up real quick. Okay, here we go. I'm pulling this up right now, and then I'll read this. So according to the CDC, over 81,000 drug overdoses happened in 12 months of May 2020. I heard from another website that was 90,000 approximately. Which this doesn't include just the total overdoses. This is just deaths. So, god damn. When you just hear the amount of deaths and then hear the amount of fucking that's just deaths. That's crazy. So that's close to 1/3. That's very, very close to 1/3 of the amount of COVID death rates. And we caused some of this. And we're not doing anything to help it. And the overdose rate hasn't gone down fully. It hasn't gone back down to normal what it was in 2019. So what are we going to do? Nothing. The politicians are going to do nothing because people don't care. So people are just going to continue to die from overdoses while we just continue to wear masks for COVID. What else we got to talk about? Let's talk about Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci's dead. Like I said, we need to start publicly executing politicians and mob style again. Just start mobs. We need to form mobs and publicly execute politicians. And Dr. Fauci needs to go. I've said in this podcast many times that this is the only way we're going to get through. And Dr. Fauci, we need to sacrifice. I think that he's the number one man up for the sacrifice. We'll sacrifice Trump and Biden right after. Both of them. Get rid of them. Even though that Donald Trump isn't even a politician, we don't want him coming back. Just be safe. No more Biden. No more Kamala. All of them gone. His emails got leaked. His emails got hacked. Him talking about masks not working. I'm gonna have to pull this up or people are gonna get pissy. His masks not working, and the big problem was before the pandemic started, and I'm starting to get tired here a little bit, so I'm sorry if I'm starting to seem a little more mellow, but Dr. Fauci said in the beginning of the pandemic that masks didn't work, but then he went back on it and said masks didn't work, and the reason why he said that, or that masks actually do work, and the reason why he said that masks don't work was because of the fact that there was a shortage on it. But the problem is with that is that no one then fucking believes you. Like, then you start out this very serious pandemic with distrust. And that's never a good thing. So, Dr. Fauci, emails. Dr. Fauci emails from April 2020 released. The Washington Post. Here, we'll fucking put this up. As the coronavirus pandemic, blah, 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 Science Magazine stand by reporting, but the official Georgia Gardner, blah, 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 blah. Saw a science interview was such a big mistake about the others. What that was the journalist, help you understand. Gao, director of the Chinese Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. I understand, no problem. Fauci wrote back, we will get through this together. Oh, so this is talking about the... Okay, so there's a lot of things that were released with this email, but in this email, another thing that was released, these emails are released basically confirmed the COVID-19 lab theory, which is that the coronavirus lab in Wuhan, China, did release the coronavirus lab in 2019. It was a big speculative for a long time. There was a lot of censorship around it. So if you said anything on Facebook, you were basically just taken down immediately. You couldn't say anything on Facebook about the Wuhan lab virus, and if you said anything on YouTube or anything on that, you kind of got demonetized. You're basically punished for saying this, but these emails confirm and say that 4 Wuhan lab workers got sick in 2019 and with coronavirus-like symptoms, but they didn't have tests at the time, and they think that these 4 people who got sick might be the first patients to ever get sick with coronavirus and started this whole pandemic, which is really interesting because it was said by Trump, so everyone kind of freaked out for a long time and said that you couldn't say anything. You couldn't say anything about this because Trump said it. And it was just super interesting to see of all this disgusting paranoia of this very might be real thing, and it was all self-centered. We couldn't talk about it, but here it is with Fauci now coming out saying it's true, and also saying that masks weren't right, and that we kind of funded this Wuhan lab in China, and we're kind of responsible for this virus. But I don't know. This whole thing gets complicated. Like I said, publicly execute all the politicians. But Fauci needs to go now. But yeah, I want to get focused more on this podcast. I want to get really into this. I want to start doing at least 3 episodes a week. I want to try and do 4, but at least 3 a week. I want to get more into clips and uploading clips. I want to edit some shit more. I want to get sound panels. I want to hang up poster boards. This has been a solo episode at fucking 1 a.m. Let's go, bitch. Let's go. School's over. School's out, motherfuckers. Let's go! Time to fucking rock and roll. Peace out, fuckers. Thank you for listening. You're a piece of shit if you listen to the whole thing. Go ride a bike.